Hello, and welcome to Ms. PM Reads Christian Content, where we are continuing in Abscond by GG Wagner. And in our last video, Lyzee graduated high school. She's pregnant and apparently has hidden it well from her classmates. This is called packing up. Lyzee folded her bathrobe small as she could. That should do it. The tape squealed when she pulled a long strip from the roll, then placed it securely over the flap. She surveyed the room, going over her mental checklist, when her eye stopped on a picture wedged beneath the mirror's frame. A warmth filled her heart, and she reached for her Bible. Sitting on the edge of her bed, with the picture in one hand, she strummed the fragile pages. She skimmed the verses until the following words nearly jumped off the page. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Jeremiah 1:5. The perfect place, she thought. She kissed the ultrasound image and tucked it between the pages. She lost her grip on the Bible when she was distracted by a quick flutter from her stomach. Wide-eyed, she watched as the worn burgundy leather-brown book landed with a thud at her foot. Flexing her toes in an attempt to manipulate it, she only managed to move it further out of sight before she gave up. Lyzee sat, captivated, as she allowed her hand to absently trace the fluctuating pulses coming from her belly. Pausing over a particular hard spot, that she caressed gently with the tips of her fingers. I'm sorry, I'm looking ahead for the next words. I'm missing some. Okay, I'm going to stay focused. Lyzee's heart began a series of cartwheels, and her breath escaped in jagged incriminants, making her voice shaky. So you're a little fighter. The light rap on the door made Lyzee jump. Wiping at stray tears with the back of her hand, she picked up the roll of tape, focusing all of her attention on the finding the end and hoping Gwen didn't notice her emotional state. Not knowing how to respond to her well-intentioned questions, Lyzee wanted to be all right. She just wasn't sure if she was or if she ever would be. Are you almost ready? Lyzee looked up when Gwen's voice trailed off. An awkward silence hung in the air. It seemed like forever before she regained her composure. Lyzee kept her hands busy with the tape, hoping she could hold back the emotion filling her heart. You will never know how much joy you have brought us these past few months. I told myself I was not going to cry, but I can't seem to help it. We have loved every minute of you being here. This is your home and we are your family. So no matter where you go, we will always be a part of your life. Okay? Lyzee didn't even try to hide the tears. Her arms fell to her sides with the tape dispenser dangling as she melted into Gwen's hug. She managed to look up at the ceiling and in the rawness of her heart, thanked God for this moment. Just when she had thought her life was over, he had come along in the form of this couple, showering her with love she didn't deserve. For the moment, she did not feel the sadness that threatened to suffocate her most of the time. She smiled through her tears and pulled away, looking into Gwen's eyes. Surprised by the joy and strength she heard coming from her own voice, she whispered, "You don't know how much that means to me. It's probably a good thing today is moving day. I don't think you're going to be able to hide that bump much longer. Just leave those boxes. Mark will get them. I came up here to drag you down to the kitchen. I think you deserve a snack. I've been baking this morning," Gwen said. Lyzee could hear the effort Gwen was making to hide the sadness in her voice. Lyzee breathed in the vanilla floating up the steps. Those were not the smells she had been used to at her house. She silently began the guessing game. Rory had always figured it out before getting to the kitchen. A demure smile began tugging at the corners of her lips as she rounded the corner, the counters covered in various sizes and shapes of storage containers. Gwen's eyes were shining and a smile spreading across her face. Lyzee gasped, her mouth falling open. Cinnamon rolls? And what's all of this? I knew the day was coming. I've been freezing your favorites since you moved in. I can't stand the thought of your freezer being empty in Nashville, Gwen said. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the car is all packed. Time to go, Mark announced as he entered the kitchen. Gwen swiped a rag across the counter while Lyzee rinsed white icing off the plates. She didn't know when she would be back here, but whenever that may be, everything would be different. With one hand on her belly and the other resting on the light switch, she lingered at the door. Gwen passed, picking up the last bag from the counter and patted Lyzee's shoulder. Take your time, honey. Alone with her thoughts, Lyzee saw a memory so vivid she couldn't help but smile. With her eyes filling with tears, she waved at the dark-haired girl that wasn't there. Through a mixture of emotions, she found her voice. Oh, Rory, I really do miss you. She turned off the light and pulled the door closed. Gwen and Mark waited in the car and she avoided looking at them. She slipped into her spot on the back seat to find her pillow and squeezed it to her chest. Mark pulled out of the driveway and her vision clouded with tears. You are now leaving Samuel's Gate. It was a sign she had read 1,000 times before. It seemed so final this time, and Lyzee wondered if this town would ever be home again. Turning in her seat, she tried to burn the tree-lined streets into her memory. As the sign got smaller and smaller, Lyzee was unable to turn away until it was completely out of view. And that's the end of that section. Oh, this one's real short. Let's keep going. Okay, this is called Hiding in Plain Sight. Lyzee's pace was slow on the well-worn path, each step becoming more uncomfortable as she approached the visitor center. A blast of cool air met her as the doors slid open, and she relished it for a second before being reminded of why she was here. She stepped out of the way of an older woman exiting the restroom, and their eyes met. Lyzee averted her attention to the empty stall, and she hoped she had misread the woman's stare. Her round belly seemed to be a topic of conversation not off limits, even for strangers. How far along are you? You look like a teenager, the woman said. Wow. Lyzee could feel the smile forming, the same fake one she used to get through such confrontations. A hollowness began filling her heart as she fought to keep the tears that were collecting behind her eyelids from falling. No sense in giving the woman the satisfaction of knowing that her words had indeed pierced. In my day, you didn't go running around a college campus like that, the woman added. Lyzee squeezed through the small space, shutting the stall door and adjusting the lock. She wasn't sure if she was more relieved to be away from the impertinent and unkind woman or from actually making it there on time. Before she could stop them, salty tears began slipping down her cheeks. Gwen had tried to talk her into waiting until after the baby came to start college, but Lyzee had never expected people, especially on a Christian campus, to be so insensitive. The classes engaged her mind so much that she had a tendency to forget about the increasingly growing baby bump, Lyzee thought, except for occasions when she'd encountered people like this busybody. The noise from the hand dryer drowned out her thoughts, and she waited for the right time to exit the stall. Continuing across campus, Lyzee looked up the hill and eyed the Glenwood Academic Center, mocking her from the top of an enormous number of concrete steps. Lyzee was on number 20, getting into a rhythm when she heard someone coming up from behind. Lyzee, wait. Lyzee turned around, startled, then surprised, to see the girl she had met at orientation, jogging up the steps toward her. Where are you headed? Finley asked. Glenwood Building, microbiology. I'm a nursing student, Lyzee said. Me too, Finley said. By the time they had reached the final step, Lyzee was struggling for breath. She had not anticipated talking and climbing. Finley had not seemed to notice her condition. Not once had she mentioned it. Lyzee was not sure if she should go ahead and get it out in the open, but surely she had noticed. It wasn't like she could hide it. She opened her mouth, her tongue tripping over the words. You see, I went through a really bad time and ended up not making the best choices. Well, obviously, Lyzee said. Oh, okay. I'm not judging you, Finley said, and Lyzee smiled a little in relief. It was not the reaction she anticipated. The scenario she had rehearsed in her head had Finley walking away in disgust. Where would you like to sit? Finley asked. I sort of like the front, but wherever you want is fine. Probably why we haven't noticed each other in class. I always sit in the back, Lyzee said. The lecture topic was interesting. I can't even say the word. Bacteriophages, maybe, being used to develop new antibodies with the potential to cure diseases. But Lyzee struggled to concentrate while Professor Lyon's voice droned in and out amid her runaway thoughts. In an attempt to refocus, she read back through her notes, only to realize they were beginning to read like a sci-fi novel. She glanced in Finley's direction, noting the speed at which her fingers glided across the keyboards, with her eyes fixed on the front of the room. Lyzee decided to give up and just borrow Finley's notes. A series of ninja-like kicks from within caused her attention to shift yet again, and her hand sought her belly. The room transitioned into a buzz of activity as Professor Lyons closed his briefcase and exited the room. Lyzee packed up and made her way across the aisle. I'm going to need a copy of your notes, she said to Finley with a crooked grin. Sharon should be waiting on me outside. I'll talk to you later. Your chariot awaits, Sharon yelled from the open car window. Lyzee had not even noticed how bad her hips were aching until she slid into the passenger seat and dropped her backpack into the floorboard. She exhaled, relieved to have the ride, but she just wished it wasn't to another doctor's appointment. It took several attempts to readjust the seatbelt to get it to the right length. When she looked up, Sharon had a large manila envelope in her hand and held it out to her. I brought your mail. It looked like it could be important, Sharon said. Lyzee ripped into the letter from the lawyer's office, dread oozing into her heart as she scanned down the page, reading it to herself. It's okay, she tried to tell herself. I probably just need to sign a few more documents. Her eyes fell to the line. Mr. Douglas has filed an objection to the adoption. And she stared at the paper in disbelief. Her eyes grew wide and welled up as she reread the line. What is it? Sharon asked. He's trying to stop the adoption. The words exploded along with a mixture of emotions Lyzee was too dazed to suppress. Okay, well, I don't think I'm impressed with that fact. But again, I've not read this, so we will have to see what happens. I hope you have a blessed day, and I will see you next time.